third game of the World Series against the Cincinnati Reds. The Orioles had already won 2 games in Cincinnati at Riverfront, and the series came to Memorial Stadium. And I thought I had bookmarked it, but I didn't. This is October 13th, 1970. There's a national TV audience watching the game. And who should be at the microphone for NBC but none other than Kurt Gowdy from Wyoming. And there's a YouTube video of the game that I drew some of this from. Here's what Gowdy said over the mic. He said, quote, "A building hand greeted Dave as he came to the plate with 2 out, bases loaded in the 6th for his third at bat at the game. And the TV camera showed Gene wearing a hat and dress in the stands, and it displayed Dave's season batting average, a powerful 133. The Reds had already gone to reliever, a guy by the name Wayne Granger. He gets the count to 2-2. Quote, "Trying to get McNally to chase a bad pitch," Dowdy said. Dave waits for the next pitch. He's got a little grin on his face. And he fouls a pitch to left field. Then he connected. This was after 2 sinking pitches. "That's hit pretty good. Grand slam home run," Gowdy told his audience. After rounding the bases, he goes back to the dugout, gets a pat on the back from Frank Robinson. And McNally's dinger goes 360 feet into the left field bleachers. "World Series history has just been made," Gowdy said. "Dave McNally has become the first pitcher to hit a World Series Grand Slam home run." That was the 12th Grand Slam home run in history, but it was the first and remains the only Grand Slam home run hit in World Series play by a pitcher. And Gene and the rest of her crew are kind of protective of that record, right?
We are.
Well, and there's more to the story. Pardon me?
I told you, I think it's in the book, that sometimes when that would come up, we think, well, that will get big publicity, because they'll say, oh, somebody tied the record, or, but now we don't want that.
Yeah, now with, since they've instituted the DH rule, now, I don't know, I'm
I
gonna
don't know
look
if
this
Shirley
up.
Otani
I
hit
don't know
one,
what
if
he-
it would count,
Yeah, if Otani hits a
if
grand
he's pitching in
slam.
that game.
But the story continues, and this will bring back memories for Gene. Tony Kubek, former Yankee, he's the color man for NBC. So he goes walking through the stands. He finds Gene and Jeff, the oldest son. Jeff is what, 7 then? Yeah, he's 7. And he asked Gene what he thought of her husband's homer. "Great, so exciting." Remember saying that? And she says, and Kubek notices the nervousness, and she says, "I don't know why you're so nervous. Dave doesn't look nervous at all." "I think he is," Gene said. "I'm having a rough time settling down. I'm sure he is trying to pitch. And then, I sure wish Jeff was here." Jeff's wearing a suit and a tie. Remember, this is a lot more dress-up time than it is now.
I get the burden
And
about that.
he puts the microphone, he puts the microphone, picks on this poor 7-year-old little boy and says, "Jeff, when your pop came up with the bases loaded, what were you thinking about?" "I thought he was going to get a hit." "I thought he was going to get out," Jeff replied with a perfect youngster deadpan. Now, let's fast forward. Sadly, of course, Dave passed away from cancer in 2002 at the too young age of 60, but his memory lives on. First of all, in that bronze over at Dealer Park that was dedicated when Dealer Park opened in 2008. But we get to, oh, and I forgot one thing too. Backtracking, if I may. She's not here, so I don't know what her reaction would be. His sister, Dee, his sister, the only surviving sibling of 4, was about 8 or 9 years older than Dave. She had when she got out of high school or somewhere around then, she and her mother would go to the Little League Park after work. And as she told me, Dave was my baby brother, so she was following his whole career. Well, she became a legal secretary, and she wanted more pay, so she went down to Phoenix, and she went to work for a law firm, not just any law firm. She went to work for the John J. O'Connor law firm. If that has, or where he was a principal, that has a ring of familiarity. It should, because his wife, Sandra Day O'Connor, became the first woman Chief Justice. She was appointed by President Reagan in 1981. And I verified this with Dee, and I have a sister who's a lawyer. Back then, I don't know if it's still that way, but legal secretaries and lawyers didn't really socialize. There was a class system in many law firms. And they had a boardroom where they were going to watch the game. But these lawyers knew, hey, Dee, your brother's going to be pitching for the Orioles today. You want to come on in and watch the game? She said, sure. And here's what happened in the 6th inning. Dave came up to bat. This is what Dee told me. I said, oh no, he can't hit the broadside of a barn. And then he cracked that grand slam. I never lived that down around the firm. Dee, and unfortunately for health reasons, Dee can't be here today. Last but not least, in 2020, and I'm hoping that a friend of mine from my days at the Gazette, Bill Bighouse, who you know, Bill covered Dave a lot during his final years after I had left the Gazette and moved on to other things. Bill did a story on the 50th anniversary of the series Slam. He told a familiar story about Jeff and everything else, and Gene told Bill, it was just pure excitement. I remember the day quite well. And here's what Gene told me. Obviously, when Tony came up, Tony Kubek, I was almost too excited to even talk. And Jeff was so cute because he thought his dad was going to strike out. I thought we were all just kind of speechless, you know. Did this really happen? It was so exciting. And then, Jeff heard about the game being on YouTube. So he's watching this with his wife. He's a doctor down in Utah. He's watching this with his wife Cass. Their game in Utah, texting with 3 of their 4 children. They live in California. And he told me, he told Bill Bighouse, I've used the Grand Slam many, many times in conversations. It's a super cool baseball trivia point. And Jeff said he realized the importance of the moment as a youngster. I totally remember as a 7-year-old being really into the game. By the way, Jeff was an excellent athlete too, both baseball and basketball. Same as his father, recognizing that the bases were loaded and being excited, and then thinking, oh, dang it, my dad's coming up, we're going to waste this opportunity. And here's what Jeff said 5 years ago. He gets this other kind of kick from that day. You should watch the interview, if for nothing else to see the plaid sports coat I was wearing and the super wide tie. My kids just humbled me. Dad, you're the biggest nerd. So that pretty much wraps it up. I will be glad to take your questions.